The Land Before Time is directed by Bluth and tells the story of Littlefoot and his friends trying to find their way to the Great Valley before the sharp teeth comes and eats them, or they get lost in the dry desert and ultimately die starvation. That's the basic gist of the film. Now, this is a movie I grew up with as a kid. I remember watching the VHS tape a whole lot, and I mostly wanted to do this Bluth movie review series, not just because I want to respect the filmmaker and his work in the 80s and look back on some of the films I have not seen of his, which are All Dogs Go to Heaven, Secret of Nim, and American Tail, but it was also an excuse to revisit an old childhood favorite of mine. And The Land Before Time was one of the biggest movies of my childhood. I loved dinosaurs as a kid. As you know, I loved the Jurassic Park movies, so this, along with Spielberg's involvement, was just right up my alley. And I loved it as a kid, but how did it hold up as an adult? Well, rewatching it the other day, I still really love this film. I still think it does a lot really well, especially in the emotional and storytelling department. Though there are a few things as an adult where you can notice a few glitches here in the final edit. We'll get to that later. But let's talk about the positives. For one, the cast all do a really good job. All the children actors here, and some of the adult actors too, all voiced their characters very well. They all had good chemistry with one another, and each of their voices felt very distinct. What I love about an ensemble movie is how you're able to tell who the characters are, and they're able to feel like their own unique selves, even though they are in a big group. And I think this film handles a bunch of characters come together perfectly. And their friendship that they form throughout the film, when they meet each other one at a time, and get to learn about them through their personalities and interactions and what they struggle with. I really did find it engaging on how Don Bluth approached it. He introduced Sarah and Ducky and Littlefoot first as our three main trio, as it seems, because Ducky and Sarah were like the first two dinosaurs that we were introduced to in this friends group. Then Littlefoot, who is the leader and main character of the group, and then we get quick introductions to Spike and Petrie later on, as they're more like the comic relief type characters. But I love that they actually had a point in being here. And while Spike may not have as much foot point, he still serves as a great companion piece for Ducky to interact with. So overall, I thought the characters were all very well realized, and the story itself, as I said, extremely good. I thought it was tight. I thought it got to the point straight away. It had no filler, and the stuff and dialogue that was written for the film to help the characters interact with one another and also grow throughout this journey, I thought felt very natural. And while they are dinosaurs, and this is a kids movie, the script and storytelling is not afraid to put these characters into dark situations where things get very intense, like the sharp teeth fighting with Littlefoot's mother, and the volcano scene in which some of the characters are trapped in lava and tar, and the final battle in which the shark tooth is trying to kill these little dinosaurs. Basically, the film is not afraid to get intense. Sure, it's a kids movie. It's not R-rated. Don't expect this to be like RoboCop. But for an 80s movie, it's able to get a lot. It was able to get away with a few stuff with a G rating, um, and I really respect it for that. And the emotional department, in which we follow Lilith's journey as he's trying to get over his mother's death and trying to follow her words and trying to follow her example and way to the Great Valley. I thought it was all very well realized by the end, and it felt earned, like really earned. And I love how, despite the minimum amount of screen time Lupa had with his mother, you still feel that motherly connection immediately with these characters together, and it's still very sad when she dies. And what I love about her death in particular is that the aftermath lingers on Littlefoot's depression. With movies like The Lion King or Bambi, immediately cut to a happier scene immediately and not spend time with the depression of the characters. With this movie, you spend like 5 minutes with Littlefoot depressed, and it slowly he lets the character find a bit of happiness when he meets his friends Ducky, Petrie, Sarah, and Spike. I really respect the film, and I thought for that reason alone, and I thought it was a really good idea to focus on that aspect of the character and their struggles. It made them feel a little bit more real and made the story feel a lot more engaging to me on an emotional level. Um, and the score by James Horner, rest in peace. This is my favorite James Horner score. And wow, I will say that it probably could use a little bit of more, I would say, extra tracks that feel different in the actual soundtrack. In the movie itself, it works so perfectly that I don't have that problem at all. I thought the soundtrack had a lot of heart warmth to it that's perfect for the tone it's going for, while mixing with a lot of intense moments too for the more intense sequences, and it still had that James Horner feeling of making it feel very uh, angelic, something unworldly about it. It takes you to another world basically within itself, and that's what I love about the soundtrack. It complements the movie very well, and to me personally, it's my favorite James Horner soundtrack. In terms of editing, though, this is where things get very interesting. Spielberg wanted 11 minutes cut from the film because there were a few shots in here and a few scenes that he deemed too dark, especially with the sharp twos in the beginning and end. And I think I would prefer the 11 minutes in there because there was a lot of continuity errors I noticed in my recent viewing that did not take me out of the experience. They're more like nitpicks, but made me wish that this movie could go full on with its dark tone that I was trying to go for. Because the lighting and imagery that it shows in some moments in the film, along with the animation style, I thought could have been perfect. But he wanted to keep it G, not PG. He wanted to make the parents happy. While I can understand that, I want an R-rated Land Before Time cut. Hashtag release the Bluth cut. It's not going to be R-rated, but hashtag release the Bluth cut. More than likely, the footage is gone and deleted and we'll never see it again, but I really want to see this more mature version of the film and a more complete version of it too. And I feel like Spielberg's involvement kind of ruined it. But despite those editing issues I had, the film still holds up very well in storytelling, animation, characters. themes of racism and death were presented very well here. Um, Overall, this is just the perfect family film of the 80s, a perfect time capsule for the 80s too. Um, and my favorite Don Bluth movie of all time. And so for that reason, I'm gonna give The Land Before Time an A plus. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for watching my Don Bluth series. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you checked out all the movies of his I reviewed here. They're all very good. Only the movies from the 80s though. Except for Nostalgia, that's the only non-80s Don Bluth film that I actually enjoyed. Everything else, you can skip. Yeah, it's best you skip. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.